I'm Greg. I'm a Linux kernel developer. I'm a maintainer. I maintain the stable Linux kernels. Linus does the development kernels every 3 months. I do a stable kernel about every week. I also do the driver core, USB, debugfs, TTY, and serial. I've been doing serial for like 25 years. It's my first paid job, and I'm still doing it. And I do a lot of kernel stuff. I'm a maintainer also. So at the end of my goal at the end of this talk is for you to understand why we are as obnoxious as we are, and why you would never want to do this job. Okay, but first some numbers. These are always fun. This is the Linux kernel for last year, 3.4 to 3.8 years worth of development. 3,000 individual developers, at least 400. I'm guessing about 420 companies. I haven't done all the numbers. This is the largest software development process in the history of us. It's huge. It's really, really, really big. It's just amazingly big, to quote Douglas Adams. And it's going really, really fast. I run the numbers every release, and they keep scaring me. The last year, think about this, almost 7 changes an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The year before that, we were at 5.9. Year before that, 5.0. We keep going faster. And that's really, really important for you to know. We're going faster, and so what you thought was the development cycle of last year, or you were used to 2 years ago, so if you want to keep code out of the kernel and think, we'll just catch up to them later, well, they're going faster. So they're going faster, and you're going to have to do more work to try and catch up. That's really, really important. So much so, that was a year's average. Last kernel we just released, even faster. I thought when we were at 2 point something, that was unsustainable. I've been wrong every year. I thought we were leveling off last year. We're not. That's insane. So how do we do this? So what are we doing? The traditional model, I've given the whole talks about this. So developers, we have 3,000 of them. They create a patch. They send it to the maintainer of the file. We have about 700 of these listed in the maintainer's file. They look at it. They sign off on it. They review it. They push it back. They accept it. They send it off to the subsystem maintainers. We have about, I looked last merge release, we have about 86 of them. And there's about 160 different trees. They keep their trees every single business day. They get merged in Linux Next by Stephen Rothwell. We test them. We see what's going on. When the merge window opens, all the subsystem maintainers shove everything to Linus. And then Andrew's out there picking up all the scraps of everything that we all miss. That's the development model. It looks like a nice, pretty tier. It looks nice and pretty. A number of years ago, you might have seen it, OLS, I graphed this. It was a 5 meter long by 2 meter tall graph. It was insane. It's good networking effects. We can route around anybody if we get in the way. But let's talk about these subsystem maintainers. Oh no, let's talk about companies. People, okay, so this gives you a sense of scale of quantity, not quality. I won't judge quality. Quantity, so this gives you a sense of scale where things are really happening fast in the kernel. Hartley is doing the COMD driver subsystem, data acquisition. Mark Brown, embedded video, or no, embedded sound, sorry. Al, file systems. Alexel and Bill are doing janitorial work, clean up the kernel. Lots and lots of really good cleanup patches. Alexel's awesome. I don't even know who he works for. Me, I was doing some janitorial work. Daniel Vetter, Intel graphics. Johannesburg, Intel wireless. Think about that for a second. One set of driver subsystem. These guys are doing that much work. Intel. David Miller, networking. Shashin, hey, Linaro. He works for you guys. He's doing, what is he doing? Janitorial work? He's doing really good stuff. He's like all over the tree. Good stuff. So this is what we do. So this is what we did in a year. This is a lot of work. So what about the maintainers? So as the patches flow through something, that's all I did last year. This is all I do. So look at that number. These are the number of patches accepted. These are not the number of patches that have been submitted. Think about that for rate of change. So me and David do a lot of work. I looked at the numbers. Actually, there's 470 unique people that David talked to. I only talked to 450. So if you come up to me and say, oh, thanks for taking my patch, I'm like, you're welcome. That was unique people that we set to patches. Mark, again, embedded videos. So this shows where the churn in the code of the kernel is. I do a lot of work in staging. That's a lot of churn. Networking, David and IDE. Embedded sound again, Maro, video for Linux. John Linville is wireless. Linus is catch-all for everything with Andrew. Hartley, again, comedy. This is one guy, these are the patches he wrote, and he's in the top 10 of what he did. Think about that. Daniel Vetter, again, Intel. But this shows how many people behind Daniel are working on the Intel graphics subsystem, which is a lot. It's really good. And again, Alvaro, file systems. So these, look at this workload. That's a lot of work. This is what we do. So let's talk about who pays for this for this sense. Congratulations, you guys cracked the top 10 for the first time. That was good to see, but you are still, as in to quote Dave, in your own little gravity well, pulling yourself out. You are still down the bottom. But the interesting numbers is number 1 and number 4. It's roughly about 20% of the kernel is done by individuals. Or you can flip it the other way, 80% is done by companies. These are people that haven't been hired yet. Seriously, they do a lot of things. But my goal of me as a developer and to make Linux succeed is I want to help those two groups of people out. If you're hired to do this stuff, you're on your own and you better know what you're doing. Remember that in a minute. TI, good. Vision engraving. This is Hartley. So he works for a company that makes engraving systems. And they use Linux. One developer made a company in the top 7. That should put every other company to shame, if you think about that. Novell/SUSE, IBM's going down, Google's moving up, which is nice to see. Linaro, so then Samsung's there, Wolfson, Linbut, consultants, Linux Foundation, just me and Linus, NVIDIA, Oracle, Freescale, Broadcom. Qualcomm fell off the list. Qualcomm's the only company that hides their patches. They're really good at that. They have good lawyers. So, let's talk about some more. So I've traveled the past year talking to lots of companies. One of your partners, actually, or your member companies, gave me this list of how they do chip design. This is what they call their development process. Design, emulation, simulation, tape out. So what the company I was talking to, they start submitting, they work on their kernel patches in the middle, and they submit their kernel patches way over to the right after the OS bring up. 3 to 6 to 8 months later, their kernel patches are accepted. But their hardware guys, once their hardware guys get the power on, they're off on the next design, right? 6-month cycles, everybody's going on, and they're making new things. So by the time the kernel developers and SoC developers that are doing the Linux stuff have the code accepted in the kernel, the hardware guys have almost finished their second design. So any feedback loop is hugely slow. Maybe a year and a half, a year at the best, so that the hardware guys can improve the chips for the next generation for Linux. This is not what you want to do. You will always, always play catch-up. Your customers are buying these chips. They're starting to order them at the power on integration stage, right? They're starting to make their own boards at OS bring-up time. They need code in the kernel. They need it now. They can't work on an older kernel. You're going to give them stuff. It doesn't work. This is what you need to do. And you did this for ARM64. You're getting better. Kernel code submission is simulation, accepted 3 to 6 months later then. By the time the chip gets to the customer, they can go download it from kernel.org. Now everybody I talk to is like, oh, yeah, right. We can't do that. Your competitors are. Your competitors are doing this. Your competitors are beating you. Intel, as a perfect example, 2 or 3 kernel releases ago, we ripped a whole subsystem for a whole chip architecture out of the kernel that never saw the light of day. Intel is that far ahead of you guys. They can, when the time their chip makes it out to production, to a customer, they say, go get the kernel.org kernel. It's all there. There's nothing that Intel has to do beyond that. The community supports it. Intel's hired the right people. Intel is beating you. If you don't catch up, they'll win. They will beat you. They know how to do this, and they know how to do it really, really well. So you can say, oh, no, we can't do this. Fine. That's your fault. And you're getting better. ARM64, you've gotten there, but you're on a simulator. Where's the SoCs? Where's the real silicon? Real silicon is in your companies. I know because some of you accidentally emailed me about it. Yeah, one company said, hey, we want the ARM64 patches backported to 3.4 because we're shipping this device with this. I was like, oh, you have silicon. Oops, we weren't supposed to tell you that. Anyway, this silicon is out there in your labs. You should have the code in the kernel today. There's no excuse not to. And it's not just oh, great, your customers or your competitors are doing it, or oh, wow, the community really wants you to. It is money. It is a business decision. IBM and Intel have publicly stated it. These are chief executives. Dan Fry is so high up at IBM, I don't know where he is now. I think he's in charge of all software now, right? Something crazy. It's a business decision. It saves them money, it gets them customers, and it saves them time. This is how businesses work. Work with the community early, often, and you do that. You do this at your own, you ignore this at your own peril. IBM and Intel are nice enough to tell everybody about this. Nobody's listening. So, if you get anything from this, you need to change what you're doing. Getting better, you still need to change. If you want to succeed. If you don't, hey, we can all go work for Intel. All right, so let's talk about what I do. Dave Miller made this quote a while ago, and it's really, really good. I am an editor. I work with you. I work with the people who create something like an editor for a publishing house. You are the author. I correct your grammar. I fix your responses. I say, no, pushback, do this. No, wouldn't it be great if you do this? That is what I do. I help you. I bring you along. I console you. I want to make the end product better. The reason I'm here and the reason I push back is because I want the end result to be better. I want Linux to succeed. You want Linux to succeed. If I am nice and take whatever you send me, Linux will not succeed. We are the editors. We also used to be writers. We dream of being writers again. And every once in a while, we say, forget it, I'm going to ignore you for a week and go do something else. I have a new project I'm working on. Dave picks up things every once in a while. But we are. Maintainers are like editors. View us that way. So that list of companies, those two groups, the unaffiliated and the ones we don't know, those are ones who are doing this out of their passion. They want Linux to succeed better. I want them to succeed, so I'm going to be very nice to them. I'm going to be very helpful for them. If you work for a company, you're getting paid for this. It's your job. You know better. Don't make me mad. Maybe it's not fair, but I'm not going to be as forgiving with you. But that's only fair, because it's your job. And it's my job that way. So, to give you a sense of scale, you saw the numbers of what I accept. Let's talk about what gets sent to me. About 6 months ago, I looked at, during a merge window that was sent to me, we have a 2-week merge window when I can't take any patches. All of the kernel developers who are part of the kernel community know this, and they don't send me anything. So I took this 2-week window as, okay, this is stuff sent to me by people who don't really know any better. I got 487 patches. 2 weeks. This is a slow period. This is my inbox. So let me look at what was sent to me and what was wrong. There was no other 47 patches. That was a good one. This was nice. There was, yeah, you're gonna make me guess. I mean, come on. Don't do this stuff. This is all the fun things that are wrong. There was no patch 2. That was good. The signed off by was in the signature below the file. At least they got the signed off by in there. That was a good one, but I couldn't do it. Our tools can't handle that. This was great. This happens a lot. If you send a patch and your company adds a signature saying, this might be confidential, blah, 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 we have email lists that it just automatically deletes it. I am legally required to delete that mail and never respond. Seriously, that's what my lawyers say. If your company is putting a footer on a patch, on emails that you send out, I cannot respond to you because you just told me I couldn't. You just sent me something that was supposed to be public, and you're basically saying, please delete this if this is public. Okay. Linux kernel development is done in public. Think about that. If your company is putting footers like this, you will not get code in. If you have no maintainers that are accepting code, let me know, and I'll point them out our lawyers and tell them to ignore it, because this is the legal advice I have been given. So don't do that. Push back on your companies. Exchange does this. Huawei figured out how to fix Exchange. Talk to Huawei if you have Exchange. They actually got it to work. They're like, oh, yes, we have this magical document, and here you have to do this way. Microsoft also got it to work. Microsoft's a kernel developer, Linux kernel developer. They got it to work. Leading spaces removed. There's some email client that does this. This is horrible. I have to edit patches by hand. I don't know why. You don't want me to edit your patch by hand. I didn't know diff still worked in the non-unified format. I think the BSD guys still use it. I can't read it. I don't know what's going on. Don't do that. Patch was created in the wrong place. That was nice. How many people can see how many things were wrong with this one? This was sent to me 6 months ago. Remember that? Wrong version. Really old place. And you're running. This means you're building the kernel as root. We had a bug in the kernel build process that accidentally deleted slash. None of us noticed it for about 3 months because we didn't do it. We're kind of thinking we should put the bug back in. Never, ever build a kernel as root. Never run GCC as root. Yeah, that was bad. Made against a different tree. I got patches sent to me that were made against the SCSI developer tree. I don't do SCSI, thank God. That was funny. Wrong coding style. This one's really important. We have tools to check this. I was talking to somebody else. Our brains work on patterns. You need to see a pattern. Once you get used to the pattern, the metadata goes away and you see the content. We have a coding style. The only thing about a coding style is you have to follow it. Might be good or bad. Don't argue that. You have to have a consistent coding style. If I see code that is not the Linux kernel coding style, it hurts. I can't see it. I don't know what's going on. So the first thing you'll get is fix the coding style. We have tools that automatically do this for you. This was good. Somebody thought they were better than the 3,000 other kernel developers. We have a reason because we all work together. I want you to fix my bugs. You want me to fix your bugs. If I can't read your code, I'm not going to be able to fix your bugs. I'm not going to take your code. It's as simple as that. Would not compile. That happens a lot. This happened to somebody, he's not in this room today. Yeah, come on, build your code. That's just plain obvious. You guys have tools internally that handle all this stuff for us automatically. Now I know what you really have. I'm just not going to accept any of this stuff. This was good. If you send me a patch series, the third patch broke it. At least they fixed it on the last one, so they knew it was there. But we have to be able to not break the bill on every single patch. I'm a little bit bad about checking this. I'll apply a 10-patch series at once. Some subsystem maintainers have code that applies every patch in order, builds it, figures out if it builds, figures out the warnings, figures out other things, and before it will accept it or not. They just sent me those scripts, so I'm going to start doing that. That's good stuff, so you should do that. This one was a good one, a series, because they said that, oh, we'll fix it later. I don't trust you. I don't trust you for a good reason. If I accept your code, and this is something important, I am now responsible for it. It has happened many, many times that people send us large bodies of code saying they're going to fix it up. Once the patch is accepted, they disappear. There's a very well-known documented case of somebody submitted a very large change to networking core. The networking developers accepted it. The day later, the email address disappeared from the net. It bounced. It was gone. The person disappeared, if it was a person. The networking subsystem spent a year trying to make up and fix those problems that were caused by that patch. We are very, very reluctant to accept things that are broken or whatnot, because it's now my responsibility. I don't know if you're going to be here or not. Things happen. People actually pass away. We've had subsystem maintainers pass away saying they're going to fix stuff up. It's a fact of life. We want stuff to work now. And then patch has nothing to do with me. I get that a lot. That's fine. This one's good. 4,500 patch line. Actually, the Linaro people started reviewing this. I was like, don't encourage them, please. Patches have to be like your math professor said. Show me the work. I want to see each little individual step along the way. Don't give me something big. You cannot rewrite the scheduler. You can add lots of changes along the way. One exception is drivers. We'll take a new driver, chunk all at once, new file system all at once, because that's self-contained. But if you're modifying existing code, show me the work. Kernel doc, we have documentation in the kernel, a way to do it. They sent it obviously wrong. They tried, so they never even checked to see if their documentation worked. Not good. And this was calm 2 weeks. This is what I do. This is what I deal with. I challenge anybody in this room to do this stuff and not be grumpy. But you want me to be grumpy. You want me to push back on this stuff. You don't want me accepting crap, because that'll hurt Linux. You guys have the resources internal to keep all that stuff from happening. There was some Linaro emails in those. I'm not going to point them out. I've seen Deepak's talk. It's online. You have the resources to give to your member companies. You guys employ people who know how to do this. You need to listen to them. They know what they're talking about. They're not just making you do extra work. Listen to them. So, let's talk about what you guys do. This was sent to me. This is something that just happened in January. We're hitting the end of the merge window, or end of the, Linus was about to release 3.9. My tree closed. I said 1 week before Linus releases, I need to stop adding stuff to my tree, make sure everything's stable, make sure it's working. It's actually 2 weeks before that. An 8 patch series for USB showed up from a Linaro email address. No description why I needed these patches. There's one line saying, in each patch saying what it did. I can read code, I know what it does, I don't know why I needed it. That was really bad. You need to tell me why this is doing what it's doing, why I need to accept it. So I ignored it. This was the great one. Half of the 8 broke the build. Obviously not ever tested, not even built. People caught this in the review. I ignored it. Your member companies, I think TI was stepped up and reviewed the code. It was very nice. Actually, the maintainer of this driver at the time was on vacation. He was in the Caribbean. He had no email address access, so I was going to just let things go. So they were resent, which is great, but they didn't say what changed. I get 400, I get 200, I get 300 email patches a week. I don't remember what I said you to do that patch. You need to tell me what you changed. Otherwise, I'm not going to remember. You can't assume I remember. Somebody this past week changed a patch by adding one line to it to fix something. I didn't remember that I even told them to add that. You got to tell me. So no description of what changed. Somebody from Linaro actually stepped up and tried to help out, and then some replacement patches were sent out of order, not telling me which one they had to apply to, and just assuming I knew which ones to replace them with. I mean, I'm getting really, really confused. So then they resent them again. And they didn't even order them in what order they had to be in. So to your credit, one of your kernel team members stepped in and said, let's do this right. Publicly said, this is how you do it, this is what you need to do, and how to do it right. So they sent them again. But they said, hey, 4th time we sent it, this is version 2. I know that's not right. I'm not even paying attention, I know that's not right. So then they insisted, this is after the merge window closed for me, that 2 of these had to go into RC1. I looked at it looked all right. I couldn't really test them. It's on ARM hardware that I don't have. Your senior developer said these are okay to go in. I've known him for years. I trusted him. I said, okay, let's take them. He resent them to me, cleaned up for them, said, just take these 2. I took them. Turned out they were wrong. But they just messed up things in the configuration. So it was just typos. That was not, somebody forgot to clean those up. That's okay. It was nice. But then I had to take a 3rd patch. So I'm now 3 patches on my tree, past the deadline of when I normally accept things to come in. So I'm already pushed to the limits of what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, great. TI stepped up again, tested these. I will give TI credit, and said, you just broke all our hardware. You guys have the infrastructure inside to test this stuff. Now I know you do. I kind of assumed you did. Now I know. You broke all of TI's stuff. That was bad. They were mad. So I had to go and revert them all. I had to add them, and I had to tell Linus, here's a reason why patches are in my tree past your deadline. It's because I had to rip out broken Linaro code. Look at my change log that I sent to Linus. It's in the kernel tree now because of what happened. So, maintainer returned. I'm like, great, let's figure out what's going on here. See what happens. Everyone was broken. Every single one of the 8 patches that were in there. They would build, they seemed like they would run. Logically, they didn't even work right. And this driver maintainer, who is very nice, very calm, has been around forever, no one would ever accuse him of being grumpy, said this publicly. You guys got some work to do. That's not good. That's not okay. Read the code. Read what's there. Read the documentation in the code. This developer obviously hadn't. I didn't know that. I don't know the driver subsystem. But if you're changing code and you don't even read the stuff around it, the comments around it, you shouldn't be doing kernel code. This is stuff that now publicly is attached to the Linaro name. You have the resources to prevent this. Please, please do that. I will not take code from this developer again for about a year until I forget them. I will now require a senior Linaro kernel developer to sign off on any patches from Linaro that I will accept. That's my rule now. I've told it publicly, and that's just what it's going to be. And I think if you were in my position, you would do the same. I hope you would do the same. I can't take this. I mean, you broke lots and lots of other hardware out there. That's not okay. This is why I'm grumpy. All right, that was a lot of Linaro bashing. Just to be, oh, I said that. Okay, so let's talk about somebody else. It's not just you guys. Half of you guys, I'll wait till you get to the punchline here. This came from a company that is in the top 5 developers. This was the 5th revision of a patch set that had been reviewed by a number of people for the TTY layer. I was kind of worried about this because it looked like it was duplicating a ton of existing code we had in there. Some people said, no, it's good. Please take it. It was a big patch. And I started reviewing it finally. Okay, 5 revisions, doing good. So what this code does is it release. Release is whenever a device is removed from the system. Somebody decided to put some debugging code in that would crash the machine if you ever pulled a device out of it. They wanted me to take this code. They even left their helpful little comment in there. Test the code. How do you test code by putting a bug? That crashes, that stops your machine hard. This developer was working with the driver framework to test the dynamic addition and removal of devices, and they never even tested the removal of the device. And they wanted this in running code. That meant all modems, all wireless modems, all embedded modems, all USB serial devices, suddenly would not even work. I told this guy after that, I said, I will not accept your code. I will require Intel's, oh, sorry. I will require their senior developers to sign off on the code before I will accept it. So it's not just you. So it's not just you getting this stuff, getting wrong. Other people get it wrong too. So don't think I'm just picking on you. I like Intel a lot, and this happens there. I like you guys a lot, it happens. So this is what. So I have to maintain your code. In order for Linux works great today. It's a risk for me to take your code tomorrow. It's my self-interest not to take your code. It's that simple. You have to convince me that I am doing something extraordinarily foolish by not accepting your code. You have to make it perfect. You have to give me no reason for me to refuse your code. You have to make it look like I'm the jerk for not accepting your code. Seriously. You have to make it, I have to be like, of course I would take that code. That's beautiful. Do that. You have the resources to do that, and you do that. And if you do that, here's what I'll give you. No excuse. As a maintainer, I am saying, this is what I'm going to do for you, and this is what you need to expect from your maintainers. This isn't just a one-way street. I will respond to your patches within 1 to 2 weeks. If I don't, ping me. Sometimes in a merge window, okay, that's busy. I'm travel a lot, but let me know. I do not get upset if somebody says, what's up with my patches? That's okay, but wait 2 weeks. Don't send me a patch today, 12 hours later ask me why haven't you reviewed it. It happens. I was asleep. Actually, I don't sleep. I was on a plane. So do that. I will do that. I promise I will offer you semi-constructive criticism. I can't imagine. I should always criticize the code and not the person. Recently, there's been some comments on Linux kernel. Reporters have discovered, hey, there's these engineers doing stuff in public and they curse. Well, imagine that. We don't, if I know you, I might curse you out. If Linus knows you, he might curse you out. like my wife says, has Linus called you stupid today? Yes. So I will respond to your code. If you come to conferences, come to things, meet us, you'll realize we're not big, scary people. We're just nice and, okay, I might be big and scary. But I'm trying to do it for the benefit of what you're doing. I will respond to your code, but detach yourself from your code. My very first driver I submitted, within 2 minutes it was cut to shreds, and I lost my ego then 15 years ago. You got to do it. It's just code. That's it. I will let you know the status of your patch. If I accept it, you'll get an email. If I don't accept it, you'll get an email. I hate the maintainers. You throw code at them, and that just disappears, and then 3 months later, it shows up in the kernel. It's like, oh, I didn't know. I forgot about that. I will ask from your subsystem maintainers to know the status of your patch. It's really, really important. Andrew Morton has automatic scripts from that. I've modified them to work with my build system. His scripts are public. My scripts are public. Other maintainers are accepting this, are doing it as well. Somebody actually posts things to Twitter for them. Maintainer, whatever the maintainer wants to do. But I will let you know the status of your patch. And then finally, this came up. I posted some code. It was written that in the comments of the code, it said, never submit this to the Linux kernel. And I was like, that's really sad. It's sad that this developer felt that the code that he was writing, or they were writing, I don't know if it was a he, sorry, was so bad, and it was, that they knew how bad it was, that they knew that he should never even submit it. And that's wrong. You are doing something wrong if you're doing that. You're being forced by somebody else to do something. You know you're doing something wrong. And the only reason Linux works so well is because personally you're responsible for the code that you send off. You are attached to it. It's assigned to you and your company. Better not, as those other patches were shown. So do it in public. And because of that, it makes us work really, really well. It's hard for us to hide crappy hacks. We don't have deadlines. We don't have things thrown at us like this. It works really, really good. Linus says it best that way. So that's why Linux is succeeding. That's why we're grumpy. That's why you need to do good work. And of course, my obligatory pending picture. And there's my slides. They're all public. They're on the Linaro website. Questions? It's quiet. Yes? Oh, I'm displaying from a Raspberry Pi. I hate Raspberry Pi, but it works good. It's a horrible processor. But no, I'm presenting from an ARM system right here. Yes?
There seems to be kind of an implicit, did you test this on x86 in most patch submissions? Like if you really want to be sure. So is that something that when you actually test a patch for most maintainers, they're typically testing on x86, so should it work?
I can't test your code. I don't test your code, unless it happens to be for the hardware I have. I will build it on x86. It better build, because if it didn't, you just broke the build. You can't bake the build for other architectures. That's the patch that I was talking about. I was working with John on this past week. John wasn't the offending partner. It would build on ARM, but it wouldn't build on x86. Somebody else submitted a patch from Oracle that it broke the build on PowerPC. We have cross-compilers. You have them in your build system. Run them. We have those things. So yeah, I will build it on if it breaks my laptop, breaks my build, I won't even take it.
Okay.
But I think I'm out of time.
That's it. Good. Thank you very much,
All
Greg.
right.